System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' Inner City Left.
This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Today is Tuesday, May 12th. I am Amin TMK alongside Amoja, Lil Tanky Sumler. Amoja, hello. We had a week off. We were doing work things, paying bills that we have to do, life.
You know, being a benefit to the culture. You know what I'm saying?
They act like we're not in the community. They act like we're not.
Good.
Yeah, deeply involved within our community spaces and things of that nature. And that's okay. We're not just analysts. We have a full background of, I don't want to speak too much about you, but I have a full background of community work, organizing, and of course, our art community, which I've been an artist for 20 years. Anyway, not about that. It's about you.
If you know, you know. If you don't know, you talk shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a brag. It's just a resume. I don't mean to say it like that. I'm not trying to horn my own toot. I'm just simply trying. And we downplay it a lot. Anyway, we was out. We was doing things, working with the youth, working with the people, and we're back. Ceasefires are done, man. Ceasefires have ended. Let's talk about this. Let's start it off. Let's start it off with the Gusano in chief, Marco Rubio, right here.
As President Trump has said, and the facts clearly bear out, the United States of America holds all the cards. There is no scenario here in which if they decide to join a ladder of escalation, they wind up getting the last say. But our preference is for these straits to be opened to the way they're supposed to be opened, back to the way it was. Anyone can use it, no mines in the water, nobody paying tolls. That's what we have to get back to, and that's the goal here.
You know,
well, that was very easy to do. Just stop fucking with people. I mean, that's the way it was. I mean, what changed that? I mean, it seems like it was that way forever. And then, like, this thing happened. I can't really remember what. Not that important. A little thing called you assassinated their fucking religious leader, started assassinating generals, blowing up schools full of children. And then, I don't know why, but the hornet nest unleashed and started to defend the nest. Where did that happen? Oh, everywhere. Everywhere on this thing that we call Earth. Because people will defend their interest with their life and with their death. And they'll do whatever it takes to get you to stop fucking with them, man. Iran wasn't fucking with us. We were fucking with them. And now we are paying a price for that. That's just causality. You want to get it back to the way it was. Okay, what could you do?
I punched you in the face and threw a tomato at your daughter. And now I'm just sitting here and I'm like, hey, why are you still mad? Let's just go back to the way it was. Be friendly neighbors. Let me come over and use your vacuum cleaner anytime I want.
And pay your neighbors to rob you, try to kill you, kidnap you. Let's go back to those good old days when you weren't defending yourself.
Let's go right. Man, that's a fact. There's more to this, of course, because the drama never ends. Let's go to Donald Biden himself.
For
if we can. There we go. This is him earlier today. We'll talk a little bit more about it after we hear it.
The level of ferocity for protest. You know, the people are watching it. They want to go out on the streets. They have no weapons. They have no guns. We thought the Kurds were going to give us weapons, but the Kurds disappointed us. The Kurds take. They have a great reputation in Congress. Congress says, oh, they fight so hard. No, they fight hard when they get paid. So I'm very disappointed in the Kurds. But they were given, I said it wasn't going to work, by the way. I just have to say it. I disagreed with what they did. They gave it. I said, they'll never get there. And I was right. I like to be right. In this case, too bad. But we sent some guns with ammunition, and they were supposed to be delivered, but they kept it. I said they're going to keep it, but what do I know? I've only been doing this a short period of time. What do I know? Go ahead.
A little funny time right there with Donnie J. So it looks like for some reason, some way in the world, there was a situation where 42,000 Iranians were killed by the Iranian law enforcement or the Iranian government. And it's also now true that the Kurdish groups received guns from the Trump administration. And I wonder, what their use was going into a place like Iran and to do what with these guns. I don't think it was to arm the people. What are your thoughts?
Let's be honest. What the Kurds did, okay, let's assume everything he's saying is true, right? Which would be quite an assumption. What the Kurds did was an act of realpolitik of self-preservation. Let's assume there are 15 million Kurds. I mean, if we combine them all, the ones that are in Turkey, the ones that are in Syria, the ones that are in Iran, the ones that are in Iraq, let's assume it's 15 million of them. The population of Iran is 93 million. You do the math. The math ain't mathing, right? So and also let's be hyper extreme, right? Because nowhere does an entire civilization commit their entire resources to a war. Let's say in this extreme circumstance, half of the Kurds on Earth were armed and went to attack Iran. So that's now, let's say we're saying 15 million Kurds. So now we're talking about an army of 7.5 million. Who continues to supply them logistically? The United States, right? With all of their obligations all around the world, first and foremost to Israel, and then to all of their other partners and client states, right? You're going to get what you can get when you can get it, and you're not even always going to be able to get it. You're not always going to be able to get ISR, which is what you really need, that ability to survey where you're going to attack. You're not going to be getting that kind of intel, right? Now let's split Iran in half now, right? Let's say they're the defending country, so that automatically pumps up patriotism. This is just a known phenomenon the world around. You don't have to love your government to love your country. Most people understand that. I hope in America you can understand that quite well, right? You're going to defend your homeland. You're just going to do it. So now we're talking about, let's just say half of them. Right? Still an incredibly formidable number. You're talking about 47 million. So if you killed 40 million of those, you'd have just about the size of the maximum potential power of the Kurds. So is that a battle you're going to win or you're going to lose? You're going to lose it, right? Never mind the fact this ain't the Kurds' first rodeo. They've been promised this time after time. They were promised a homeland
Let's not forget that he said, Congress loves them. Congress says they fight hard. So you telling me that they already have a long-standing relationship with the U.S. Congress? I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I mean it's just an unbelievable. No. Yeah, it's just an unbelievable admission that happens when Trump speaks. He just says these things. But yeah, no, continue.
Yeah, the Americans promised them a homeland after they helped betray Saddam. Again, I think Saddam is a great person, but it's not deniable that the Kurds betrayed him when the Americans invaded. They sided with the Americans. They thought they would have a better lot. They were promised pie in the sky. They were promised a mythical Kurdistan, and it was going to be right next to Narnia and, Atlantis, all of these other fictional places that have never and will never exist as power exist in the world today, and it's manifested, right? Turkey's not going to give up part of their land. Syria's not going to give up part of their land. Iraq is not going to give up part of his land. Iran is not going to give up part of his land. But Kurdistan, as promised by the Americans, would require all four of these nations to do that, right? But they went along and they believed it. They helped. They helped the Americans in Syria overthrow Assad, only to be betrayed and essentially thrown under the bus to HTS as the Americans pitched their wagons to the former ISIS commander, who is now the president, like Zelensky, apparently forever, until he decides to run, which we've already called him president. That's a much better term than dictator. People aren't going to look into it too much. He's the good guy. See,
Named
he's in
himself
photos.
president. He didn't name
with
himself
Macron.
emperor. It's
Right.
like, it's like you guys don't, but nothing's good enough for y'all. He didn't name himself Lord of the Universe. He named himself president.
And all of this is to belay the immediate and most obvious point. The Americans have finally realized you cannot win a real war through airstrikes, right? Unless and until you are willing to do the thing that breaks the entire world order. We don't even have to speak on that. You know what it is. That's the only way you can potentially win an air war, right? But at that point, you're no longer talking about war. You're talking about civilization annihilation. Most humanity kind of looks down on that sort of thing, especially when you have those kind of weapons and they don't. The only other thing you can do is to invade on ground, the way that every war in the history of war has been won, boots on the ground. Now, we already got stories of this coming out. There was a story in the Atlantic written this very week, okay, by no more than Victoria Nuland's husband himself, a man that has authored us into the original Iraq War, the Ukraine War, had a lot of insight into getting us into this current Iranian war, saying that the war is lost. And the only way to fix it is to invade on the ground. And even in this article, he acknowledges there will be magnificent amounts of casualties. And never in there is it explained to the average American why we should be willing to suffer magnificent casualties for a country that does not have weapons that are the weapons that we claim they have. This is just a reimagination of the weapons of mass destruction hoax, right? A country that has no real capability of striking the American homeland at all. And seems to be in service of other interests, which are not fully explained to the Americans. And yet, we should be willing to sacrifice magnificent casualties. All right, and again, this is a guy who is as married to power as it gets. There are no, I just started writing type people writing essays at the Atlantic, This man is married to Victoria Nuland, who was the Undersecretary of State under Biden, who served under Obama, who has close connections to the Clintons. This is a very powerful family writing these things, which are once again attacking Trump from the right, saying the war is lost because Trump wouldn't do what needed to be done, put millions of Americans on the ground. And if you think the Ukrainian wars went really slow, how slow do you think it'll take America to conquer a nation that is at least 2 times larger than Ukraine with 4 times the population? How long? It's not going to happen in a week. This won't be that Iraq stuff where we go in and nominally in 30 days, we're in all of the major cities. Nominally in 6 months, there's some sort of semblance of control. Nominally in under a year, we're able to push forward with elections with the candidates that we like. This won't be nothing like that. This will be much actually worse than what is happening in Ukraine. And the Americans don't have the tolerance for attrition warfare. The American military is not built in that way. You have to build for attrition from the ground up. And it works a lot more when you have a population that 100% really believes in your cause. And we don't even have more than 50% believe in this cause right now.
Let's look here. More than 1.2 million people have been forced to flee their homes amid Israel's assault on southern Lebanon, as bombings, evacuation orders, and demolitions pushed residents north and left many homes in ruins. This is from The Guardian. We've been witnessing the IDF move deeper and deeper into southern Lebanon, clashes with Hezbollah, major casualties, especially for the IDF, but the civilian casualties in Lebanon continue. The extension of Israel into southern Lebanon continues. Sort of the idea that this war with Iran is another way to expand the greater Israel project. Just some of your thoughts on Israel and Lebanon and what's happening, and where do you see it going?
Well, I just think it's obvious to acknowledge that Israel does not recognize the sovereignty of any of its neighbors. It's willing to openly genocide to steal the land from Palestine. It's encroaching into the West Bank and into the Gaza. It's now moved up into southern Lebanon and trying to push past the Litani, right? And we have reports of less than a month ago, there was a secret Israeli base built in the Iraq desert, where when the Iraqis found out about it and sent their military, the Israelis opened fire on them. And the Americans advised them not to pursue the target. Like, Israel does not respect anyone's sovereignty. They will do as they wish throughout the region with relative impunity because of the complete capture of the American political class. They'll always manage to somehow still be painted as the victim, even as they openly demolish entire neighborhoods, electronically destroy them. You can't even go onto Google and see the names of these Lebanese cities. They're no longer on Apple Maps. By and large, they've erased their entire culture as if they don't exist anymore. And they've done this earlier in the year in the Golan Heights, where they have essentially absorbed these areas after the fall of the Syrian government.
I just was reading this the other day. And finally, Syria has Visa and MasterCard has returned to Syria. And that's sort of how everything is going well and everything is going good. I think because you mentioned Ukraine, you mentioned Russia. Let's talk a little about that, shall we? Because I think it's interesting that there's been a lot of conversation about Victory Day. And Victory Day is obviously a really big deal in Russia. And they've kind of started to use this as like, a talking point. Oh, it's like his parade or something. Like it doesn't have this like incredible historic background, sort of attached to it. And, we always, and I do want to get into the weeds there, but I want to start off with this because we have this thing where the Democrats love to attack Trump. And you would think that they would attack Trump as, progressives. Oh, he does these things that are incredibly conservative, right wing, racist, all the phobias or the whatever it may be. And then when it comes to something surrounding international warfare or diplomacy with countries, they attack him from the right. This is from Meet the Press, and I want to let you hear this and maybe get your response, and we'll get a little bit more into V-Day celebrations and things of that nature.
Ukraine war to allow prisoner exchanges and this parade that Vladimir Putin holds annually. He said yesterday the Ukraine conflict may be, quote, coming to an end, but it is still a serious matter. We know the American diplomacy has failed to date. How do you interpret what Putin said there?
Well, I think it's a positive, statement. We want this to end. Nobody wants this to end more than the Ukrainian people. I'm going to be traveling back to Ukraine here in about 3 weeks or so to meet with government officials to get firsthand what the status of the conflict is, to hear from the Ukrainian people. We want this to end. They want it to end. I think one of the barriers to peace is that Donald Trump has not provided the support to the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian people that Ukraine needs. Instead, You know, he often, I mean, we've seen this over and over again, how he's got this odd relationship with Putin. He refuses to press Putin in a way. He's backed off on sanctions. He's not put the pressure on the Russian government with the tools that we actually have to get an outcome and get this conflict to end.
Well, we'll see if that position changes, since the diplomacy, Secretary Rubio says, has.
Again, I'll just leave it to you. But you see what I'm saying, man?
Let's do the math again. Let's go back to the 2010 figures for the population of Ukraine, which was at that time 30 million. And then we have Russia, 130 million. The math ain't mathing, right? So when I'm talking about giving them the resources they need to win, that's just foolhardy. Did they send
How
Ukraine
much more
on?
are they going to give? They sent them everything. How many billions of dollars have gone to Ukraine?
And the thing is, the Ukrainians understand that it's a fool's errand, which is why most of that money is diverted into open graft, okay? Grift. I mean, everyone there. Just this week, you had, dear God, Tucker Carlson interviewing Zelensky's old press secretary, where she talks about his proclivity for looking like a teddy bear in front of the cameras and a grizzly bear when the cameras go off. Talks about his proclivity for the nose candy and the za. You know what I'm saying? Like, the man that y'all think exists does not exist. He just does not exist. I say again,
what did Wall Street Journal call him the other day? Or was it them or the Times? He was like the savior of the West or something.
Yeah.
What was it? I can't quite remember.
Leader of the free world.
Leader of the free world. There it is.
Leader of the free world. You know what I'm saying? Because what happened to us in the free world if you want to go ahead and toot the Rudy a little bit and blow on a little za? You go to jail.
You go to jail.
Right?
There's people in jail right now for smoking a little za.
Meanwhile, we got Starmer, you know what I'm saying, Mers and Macron, tooting the Rudy on these trains. I mean, look, man.
And what happened with Hunter Biden? We haven't mentioned Hunter, but what happened with the cocaine?
It's rules for them.
Man.
You know what I'm saying?
Different for us.
But quite different rules for us. So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and again, inner city left, right? The number 3 country in the world for Bugatti purchases in 2024 was Ukraine. Bugattis. Y'all doing good.
And
that's definitely not a recession indicator, right?
Yeah, they was top 5 in Rolls-Royce Spectres. I mean, not even the Ghost. They not even buying the basic. They not even getting a Ghost. You getting not even a Phantom. You getting a Spectre. 700 bands.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just insane.
I mean, I just want to look at Mansory client list, man. I want to see how many, you know what I'm saying, Voldemorts are on there, how many Zelenskys are on there, how many Ozdemirs are on there, how many Klitschko's. Let's be real, man. Like, they understand they've been sent on a fool's errand. They understand that anybody goes out there is going to die. They understand, despite all of the hype and the misunderstandings of what Americans think military power looks like, Russia has the most powerful, most well-oiled logistics machine and arguably the second best ISR machine in the world. And anybody that sees them on the field of battle will die.
And fantastic logistics, where they can
fantastic logistics
anytime they want, because they've trained systems that move things in and out.
They drop in cigarettes to their soldiers with drones. You don't even got a one for your Marlboros, buddy. You out there lighting people up, and you still smoking good. Like, y'all don't understand what war is like. What real war is like. Americans don't get this. They think that you fly over a place and you drop big bombs and it goes boom and everybody's like, oh, I'm scared. You know what I'm saying? For every little Venezuelan-style success, which once again is more black ops and spook shit, as opposed to like, ooh, we dropped the soldiers and we crushed them. Like, that doesn't happen. That's not going to happen even to near-peer adversaries these days, especially when they understand that the fight is existential, as the Russians certainly do. The Ukrainians don't think this fight is existential, because there's no way you can make an argument to me with a good straight face and tell me you think this is an existential conflict, and yeah, y'all skimming this much money that could be used to be building trenches, could be used to be building drones, missile defense, right? An
Or
air
supporting
force.
their troops, supporting
their troops,
which they are not being supported. How many people have defected? You hear the horror stories where they're not able to leave positions. They eat one meal a day. Not to mention how many mothers and grandmas have been out there fighting the
You got recruiters shooting on grandmas right now. You got dudes that have been stop lost 3 times coming back to Ukraine and lighting up blocks, right? The culture is coming apart at the seams, and only foolish people don't recognize this. Their only chance for peace right now is to stop fighting. Stop fighting. You have no chance to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, give up this NATO dream. It makes you less safe, not more safe. But you have to see this again, right? In complete connection with what is happening in Iran. And when they talk about this later on in history, I don't think they'll use terms like the 10-day war or the 30-day war. All these little cute monikers are going to Ukrainian special military operation. I think what they're going to call these are the BRICS wars, right? Because these wars always get blamed on the countries that are getting attacked. You know what I'm saying? It's not the Americans' war in Vietnam. It's the Vietnam War. It's not the Americans' war on Korea. It's the Korean War. You know what I'm saying? This is the G7 and the American Empire's war on the BRICS countries. And that's why everybody that even thinks about joining BRICS is made into a weapon. They're weaponized and violated. Look at what they've done to Cuba. Because, like, we're not going to let you go BRICS. You know, we got secret coups in South America where all of these right-wing people are talking about deposing Petro in Colombia, talking about getting rid of Lula in Brazil, getting rid of Scheinbaum in Mexico. All of the left, leaning, politicians, because anybody that's left-leaning will eventually look at the BRICS mechanism and understand it represents a path forward away from American hegemony. And that is the thing the Americans will not allow the most. No one can get off the plantation, because then all the people on the plantation will understand a different world is possible.
The world, my friend, it's about force, Power concedes nothing without a struggle.
That was a great American.
I was one of the greatest of Americans of all time. Let's talk about a little something, shall we? Hold on, I gotta sneeze. All right, I think we avoided it. Okay.
I know. Back in D.C., all my allergies crazy, man.
Let's get it. All right, Putin announces that next generation Sarmat ICBM will be deployed by end of 2026 after successful test. It's the most powerful missile system in the world, Putin said. The total power of the warhead is over 4 times greater than the power of any existing Western analog. Secondly, most importantly, the missile can move not only along a ballistic trajectory, but also along a suborbital trajectory, which thirdly allows for a range of over 3,500 kilometers while simultaneously doubling its accuracy characteristics. We've been talking, well, no, I don't want to say we've been talking. We have been talking about Russia's missiles, what they're able to do. We talked about, of course, we know the Kinjals and things of that nature, but we also have the Orishnik unveiled last year. What about the Budishveshnik? Yeah, Budishveshnik also, put out there for the world to see. And now you're talking about maybe their most advanced ICBM here.
Sarmat makes all them bad boys JV. Is the most powerful weapon system that exists on the planet, okay? This is not me hyping it up. This is just the reality. The only analog that's anywhere close to that, China has a missile, the DF-31AG, and they have a 31A variant. It's a solid fuel road mobile missile that can carry MIRVs, right? Because that's what we're talking about. Sarmat, also known as Satan II, right? Because it's the apocalypse weapon, It's hypersonic, as they're saying. It can go suborbital, which means it goes in a lower Earth orbit and is essentially use the gravity of Earth, right, to pull it to hypersonic speeds. It can circle the Earth 4 times before it decides to make orbit impact. The thing that's fascinating about it is, like they said, it's not a ballistic one, which means it doesn't fly over a straight little predictable path, right? It goes orbital. It goes up and then rotates around the Earth and uses the power of the Earth to accelerate it to when it finally comes down, right? And when it comes down, there's more than one warhead, so it's multiple reentry vehicles that are all coming at hypersonic speeds. And this is a weapon that, let's just be honest, will never be used to deliver conventional weapons. It's meant to be the preeminent nuclear weapon of its time. A weapon like Sarmat can be used to obliterate with a nuclear first strike or second strike, retaliatory strike, a strike. It can be used to hit Spain, France, Germany, Britain, Sweden, all in the same launch, the same missile. You spin it up, you let it go, they come down, all multiple warheads come down at hypersonic speeds, and boom, goodbye country, right? Again, the country, the Chinese equivalent, it can carry up to 4 to 8 warheads, but this one is even larger. You know what I'm saying? And once again, what it goes to show is the corruption, right, that has kept Americans safe for so long is exactly what led to us being lapped in the missile tech developments. Like, let's be honest, we weren't even fully capable of dealing with Iran's weapon program as far as their missile tech. Okay, they were able to hit every single American base they wanted. They were able to knock out our preeminent missile defense receivers and radars that we will not be able to build for quite some time because of the American relationship with China as it relates to rare earths. The missile tech that Russia is demonstrating right now is light years ahead of where we are in our imagination, because most of our money has went to airplane tech, right? We want to have air dominance by way of airplanes, not necessarily by way of rockets, because we won the space race, right? So, now everything is just about, Elon sending up his satellites, which of course, any delivery system that can do that could be weaponized, and that's real. But the Americans, they went one way with their missile tech and the rest of the world went another way. So now we have to be aware of at least the missile capacity and technology of countries like Russia, countries like China. You still have to be aware of the missile tech in countries like North Korea, which have been working on delivery systems for quite some time. And even though they're not nuclear weapons, you do have to worry about the missile tech of Iran. What that means these are nations that you have to show respect to, whether you want to or not. It's not about, I disagree with their style of government. That is a childish way of moving through the world. That is not the way that real government works. That is not the way real power works. Again, any criticism you think that you have for Iran, I guarantee you, those they pale compared to the life as practiced in Bahrain right now, which is run by a royal monarchy, right? As is run by UAE, which essentially is run completely on forced labor and immigrants that can never, ever even become Emirati citizens, permanent underclasses. They don't have votes. That's not a democracy, right? Ask yourself
we
why.
We already know that the Emirates have participated in the war in Iran.
Secret attacks with the Israelis.
Yeah, there was secret attacks. So they're as involved with the Israelis as you can be. And it's even like places like Saudi Arabia, like, wow, like you really in bed with these guys that intensely. I want to move on real quick because we're getting a little low, and I just wanted to talk about this before we're done, because we've been talking about needing to get ahead of it. We we missed this because, as you know, someone was trying to take shots at Donnie J, right? There was that whole thing where, he had the manifesto and all this other stuff. And, it's always interesting to see how people come out and say, oh, Donald Trump is the worst person of all time. He's so terrible. But someone takes a shot at him and it's like, oh, my goodness, how could this be? So this is Delcy Rodriguez. This was on the 25th last month. This is when, whoever dude decided to try to take his chances at the correspondence dinner and, I guess, attempt to assassinate Donald Trump. Wherever you lie in that particular story is up to you. But this is Delcy Rodriguez. We strongly condemn the attempted attack against President Donald Trump and his wife, Melania Trump. We extend our best wishes to them and all attendees of the correspondence dinner. Violence is never an option for those who uphold the values of peace. Pretty unbelievable as she is the vice president and the president, or she's the current president, but the president himself was abducted violently with the murder of several people.
Dozens of Cubans were killed for her superior to be taken away.
And wife. And his wife.
And wife. And there's a head of state that should be protected by the Geneva Conventions that's rumored to be being held in solitary confinement and has been there for 3 months.
Human rights violation. Human rights violation.
So then we talk about the alleged attempt on president's life without ever even discussing the very real attempt that probably the president and certainly Zelensky made on Putin's life less than 4 months ago, where they're talking allegedly over the auspices of a peace negotiation. And the president of the United States says to Putin, okay, stay where you are. I'm going to be right back. And then a drone hits the place where they thought Putin was. Like, these are real attempts. These are real attempts to try to take people's lives, right? Where was her criticism for that? Where was her criticism for the Ayatollah of Iran who was assassinated with his daughter?
Granddaughter. By his side. Yeah.
Like, you can't pretend that Delcy is not captured at this point. I'm so sorry that it's inconvenient.
Because there's more. Inner City Left brings receipts. That's what we do. I mean, yes, we form our opinions, and maybe our opinions can have biases, but good Lord. This is the
fifth dimensional chess, third wave feminist that's on Delcy's dick. They gotta be real about this stuff. Delcy is captured.
Yep. I just wanted to just show you guys this this tweet. At the signing of a deal to help sell Venezuelan gold and other minerals abroad, interim President Delcy Rodriguez declined to take questions. This is Vera Berengruen. Asked as she walked out when there would be elections in Venezuela, she said, I don't know. Sometime. Sounds a lot like a Zelensky to me.
All over.
Yeah.
Again, Raisi, when he was assassinated, that brought us to the new elections for Pezeshkian, took place in under 100 days. So there's no excuse.
No.
There's no excuse, right? They knew that they couldn't get Machado over. And they knew at this point, put a chick in her. And, there we go, right? We all there. They had to girl boss it. And so Delcy's their girl boss that she could sell. She's lost all legitimacy at this point. The fact that she's turned over to the United States the whatever vestiges of highly enriched uranium the country had. She's turned over the gold reserves. She's back on an IMF loan. Show me, right? If it's fifth dimensional chess, just show me the moves. Because I played chess recently, and I've lost a step, man. I got beat up, so I don't see it all like I used to. But for me, I just don't see it.
Yeah, and when you have people out here like Claudia Sheinbaum, which is who continuously is furthering the socialist policies of the previous administration, upping the ante, we now have Delcy taking several steps back. And this is kind of the difference between when you have, a woman like Claudia Sheinbaum who is really kind of putting her neck out against the West. And, when people are hating on her, you can tell, it has a lot to do with Western propaganda. But Delcy seems to be in the good graces. You've been hearing Donald Trump say, oh, maybe we can work with this person. She's much better. That's just unacceptable to me. And it should be unacceptable for all people, especially those who lean to the left, because Nicolas Maduro was not only exactly what Venezuela needed in terms of their leadership, but he is a leader for many of us throughout the world and people in the global South. His incarceration is a symbol and a reminder that the West has a real stranglehold on a significant part of the world, especially Central, South America, and the Caribbean.
And it's just not real to talk about the state of Venezuelan inflation or any of those economic pressures without acknowledging the results of decades of American sanctions. It's so easy to be like, oh, the Venezuelans, they mismanaged their government. They couldn't even get medical supplies in, but passed the sanctions of the American government.
But sanctions and blockade, anytime someone tells you all the living conditions, it's a war. And this is what's happening in Cuba.
Oh, Cuba's failing. No, they're under sanctions. Please. Anyone that tries to sail to them does so under the risk of potential gunfire from the United States Navy. That's what sanctions are. That's what a blockade is. Just because you don't have to fire the gun doesn't mean the gun isn't pointed at you.
Yeah. Let's give a shout out to our podcast listeners. I've been seeing a lot of good reviews out there. Shout out to y'all. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Check out our Podbean. You can check out Amoja's book of poetry. Amoja's been a poet for quite a long time. He's a legend of the South. Again, goes back to our artist roots and being within a community. The link is in the description. Get it for your library, for those who appreciate writing and poetry and so on and so forth. Again, we're artists. Amin TMK, Lil Tanky. Everywhere you find music, we make music. We are analysts. Yes, of course we do this. But we've dedicated our lives to art and activism and things of that nature. Anyway, patreon.com/InnerCityLeft. We love you guys like cook food. One day I will make you guys a big pot of Macluba and we'll all sit down and talk good vibes. And Tanky, I missed this for a week, but we're back, baby. Tell them we back up. Tell the streets we back up.
Tell the streets we back.
Feelings, anything we missed?
Yo, I'm a horrible promoter, but new track dropping by the time you probably see this tomorrow. New London. Some really, really important work. Something new from Concierge to the Streets, soon to drop. And of course, I had to hit you with the numbers. I had to. $78,933,700,000 wasted on the Iran debacle so far. And again, that's just including operational cost, not the cost of any of these munitions. None of this voted for by Congress. None of this allocated specifically. No war declared. How's them student loans feeling? How's that mortgage pressure feeling? How's that medical debt feeling?
And well, look, if there is any silver lining, at least it's going to get worse. So with that being said, for Amoja, Lil Tanky Summer, I'm Amin TMK. This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Peace.
System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' Inner City Left.